Boy, that must have been one hell of a sprained ankle. And remember all the conflicting reports about, oh, that wasn't a major setback? It's October and you're still trying to get over that? Man, I got to tell you, the Fever, they did not do a good job of disclosing everything.
Okay, this is wild. So Caitlin Clark's been out of basketball for months now, and everyone's been told it's just a sprained ankle, a simple injury, nothing major. But you just heard what her own coach is saying. It's October, and they're still doing 3-on-3 drills at 50% intensity. For a sprained ankle? That supposedly happened back in July? Something doesn't add up here, and what I'm about to show you is going to make you question everything the Indiana Fever has been telling us about Caitlin Clark's absence. Because here's the thing, nobody's talking about, this isn't just about an injury anymore. There's a reason why the biggest star in women's basketball has completely vanished from the court, and it has nothing to do with what they've been saying publicly. You're about to see exactly what's been happening behind closed doors, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why March 11th isn't just a comeback date. It's a calculated move that changes everything.
During her injury-riddled season, Clark never played more than 5 games in a row and was rarely, if ever, fully healthy when she was on the floor. Outside of a few big performances, including a triple-double on opening day. Wow. That's how we started this season, with a triple-double. Oh, she didn't look like her.
Did you catch that? She never played more than 5 games in a row, rarely fully healthy. But here's where it gets crazy. They're saying she had injury after injury, setback after setback, but the Fever kept putting her on the court anyway. And get this, her shooting percentages completely collapsed. We're talking about a player who built her entire reputation at Iowa on being unconscious from 3-point range, and suddenly she's shooting 27.9%. She had 3 games without making a single 3-pointer, something that hadn't happened since her sophomore year in college. Now, most people would look at those numbers and think, okay, she was injured, that explains the bad shooting. But hold up, there's something everyone missed. If she was so injured that she couldn't shoot, why was the organization still playing her? Why weren't they shutting her down to properly heal? And why months later are we still hearing about building back slowly and laying a foundation? What's even more insane is the timeline here. Let me break this down for you. The injury supposedly happened in mid-July. That's almost 3 full months before these comments from her coach in October. 3 months for a sprained ankle. But listen to how Stephanie White describes the recovery process. They're talking about movement patterns, rhythm and timing, balance, explosive movements. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like someone relearning how to play basketball from scratch.
Quote, I would never speak for Caitlin, but it's frustrating as an athlete to go through injury when you're not able to do what you love to do. White said certainly having setbacks, then working your way back, then having another setback, all of that is frustrating. While it's frustrating, it's important that we get her back to 100% and she's comfortable, she's confident that she's healthy, and that she can move forward in a way.
Okay, but here's what that actually means. When a coach says it's frustrating as an athlete to go through injury when you're not able to do what you love to do, that's not just about physical pain, that's about being held back. And notice the language, setbacks, then working your way back, then having another setback, multiple setbacks. For a sprained ankle? Come on, we all know what that means. But wait, there's more to this. The Fever organization has been playing this incredibly carefully. Every time someone asks about Caitlin's status, they give these vague updates about building back and taking it week by week. They never give specifics. They never show her practicing. There's no footage, no updates, nothing. For the most marketable player in the entire WNBA, the one who single-handedly drove record viewership numbers, they've kept her completely hidden from public view. And get this, she's turned down every single opportunity to play basketball during the off-season. Unrivaled? Nope. Athletes Unlimited? Pass? Overseas offers that would have paid her millions? Not interested. Now on the surface that makes sense if she's injured and needs to heal. But here's the kicker. If it was really just about physical recovery, why would the first time we see her play be in March for Team USA? Why not ease back with some lower stakes games first? Why jump straight into representing your country on an international stage?
In order to make sure she's ready by then, the Fever will not skip any steps over the next few weeks and months. Quote, just as much as being on the floor and working on skill set and working on movement patterns is rhythm and timing and balance and all those things, White said. Now instead of working on 1 to 2 things at a time, now it's 3 or 4 things at a time. Now we've got decision-making, live action, we got staying on balance, we've got changing direction, we got explosiveness, all of these things, oh, by the way, at 90 or 100% instead of 50, 60, 70%.
Check out how the coach frames this. They're talking about decision-making in live action, staying on balance, changing direction, explosive movements, all at 90 to 100% instead of 50, 60, 70%. You gotta hear how she says this. It will take some time, but we do have that opportunity right now to begin laying the foundation. Begin laying the foundation. In October? For a season that starts in May? See what's happening here? This is huge. Because what Stephanie White just admitted, probably without even realizing it, is that Caitlin Clark isn't recovering from a simple ankle sprain. You don't spend 6 months laying a foundation for a sprained ankle. You don't talk about building back slowly and working on 1 to 2 things at a time, now 3 or 4 things at a time for a sprained ankle. Now connect the dots. First, we had the injury reports that kept changing. Then we had the conflicting statements about severity, then complete radio silence for months. And now we're hearing that, in October, they're still doing basic drills at reduced intensity, and the first real game action won't be until March. That's 8 months from the initial injury. 8 months.
I've never seen it take this long. Now, groins can come and go, but it would go, and it wouldn't come back. Unless she got back on the court and got there, and she's not going to know that until she actually plays the game. So I still don't quite understand what the issue is with the time frame. None of that makes any sense. Although after her remarks about Kelsey Mitchell, a lot more of it makes a lot more sense.
Did you catch that pause? That reaction tells you everything you need to know. He literally says that must have been one hell of a sprained ankle, and then immediately questions the entire narrative. And when someone who covers this sport every single day starts openly doubting the official story, yeah, there's more to this story than we've been told. But here's what that actually reveals about what's been happening behind the scenes. Remember when the Fever kept saying the injury wasn't a major setback? Remember when they implied she'd be back quickly? Now we're in October, and the timeline has stretched to March, and suddenly everyone's talking about how they never properly disclosed the extent of the injuries. Injuries. Plural, not injury. Injuries. The way they avoided giving straight answers from the beginning. That's classic organizational cover-up behavior, and you can literally see the moment when the media started questioning the official narrative. It's right here, right now, when people started asking, why is this taking so long? Because here's the thing. High ankle sprains are serious. Absolutely. But even the worst high ankle sprains don't typically take 8 months to recover from for a 22-year-old elite athlete with access to the best medical care in the world.
I just hate that I feel like I've been right this whole time. Damn. I kind of wanted to be wrong on that, frankly. So there it is. It looks like we've got Caitlin Clark potentially coming back. All right, not in May, not mid-May, but towards the first part, middle of March. So we may see Caitlin Clark on a basketball court playing meaningful basketball for Team USA, which I think is a gargantuan deal. That's going to be a big, big deal.
Okay, listen to what happens next. He brings up something absolutely critical that everyone else has been too afraid to mention, the Kelsey Mitchell situation. And suddenly, he says, a lot more of it makes a lot more sense. What does that mean? What's the connection between Caitlin's mysterious extended absence and whatever happened with Kelsey Mitchell? Let me tell you something. This is where the story gets really interesting, because if you've been following the Fever closely, you know there's been tension brewing in that locker room all season. You had Caitlyn coming in as this massive superstar, breaking viewership records, getting all the attention, while veterans like Kelsey Mitchell had been grinding for years without recognition. And then suddenly, in the middle of the season, there are these vague comments about team chemistry, about building the right culture, about making sure everyone's on the same page. And get this, right around the time Caitlyn's injury situation started getting weird, there were reports about internal team meetings, about players-only conversations, about the organization trying to manage personalities and egos. Now, I'm not saying the injury is fake. Clearly something physical is going on, but what if the reason they've kept her away for so long isn't just about the ankle? What if they've been using this recovery period to reset the entire dynamic of that team? You know what's crazy? The timing of everything. Caitlyn gets injured, the team shuts her down, they keep her away from all basketball activities, they turn down every off-season opportunity, and now the first time we're going to see her play isn't with the Fever, where those team chemistry issues exist. It's with Team USA, where she gets a fresh start with different players, different coaches, different everything.
Just seeing Caitlin Clark walk onto a basketball court wearing that Team USA jersey, and I don't know who has the broadcast rights for that. I don't know. I'm just going to assume it's NBC. All right, because it's FIBA and it's Team USA, but I don't know that for sure. I'm trying to think if the NBA TV ever showed anything like that. I don't know. But you can bet one thing. If Caitlin Clark ends up being involved in this, somebody's going to put that on television. Somebody's going to be like, we've got to televise that. This is her first action in a very long time in meaningful basketball.
Watch this part. It's insane how he frames this. Seeing Caitlin Clark walk onto a basketball court wearing that Team USA jersey. He's talking about this like it's a massive cultural moment. And you know what? He's absolutely right, because what's really happening here is a complete narrative reset. Think about it. The last time most casual fans saw Caitlin Clark, she was struggling. Bad shooting percentages, injury after injury, questions about whether the WNBA was too physical for her, debates about whether she was overrated. All that negativity, all those doubts, they've been building for months. But now she gets to come back on the biggest possible stage, representing her country, with months of recovery and training behind her, ready to remind everyone why she's the most exciting player in women's basketball. This is classic manipulation of public perception, and I mean that in the smartest possible way. The Fever and Team USA are essentially giving Caitlin Clark a do-over. Instead of limping back into the WNBA season still dealing with injury questions, she gets to make her triumphant return in March, dominate in international play, build momentum, and then come into the WNBA season in May as a conquering hero rather than a question mark. But here's the kicker, and this is what nobody's talking about. This strategy only works if she's actually healthy by March, which means whatever has been wrong with her, whatever the real story is behind this extended absence, it has to be resolved in the next few months. And that timeline, that pressure, that's enormous.
And again, that's actually March 11th is actually 2 months and 1 week before the start of the WNBA season. So it looks like, maybe, perhaps, man, I don't even want to get my hopes up. We may be getting Caitlin Clark sooner than we thought. It'd be good. I'd like to see Caitlin Clark play. That'd be awesome for a channel that talks about Caitlin Clark.
Did you catch that energy shift? He goes from questioning everything to suddenly being excited about content opportunities. That'd be awesome for a channel that talks about Caitlin Clark. And you know what? That honest moment reveals something crucial about the entire ecosystem around her. Because here's what people don't realize. Caitlin Clark isn't just a basketball player anymore. She's a content machine. She's a ratings generator. She's a business unto herself. When she plays, viewership explodes. When she's absent, numbers crater. The entire women's basketball media landscape has built itself around her presence. So when she disappears for months, it doesn't just affect her team, it affects everyone who covers the sport. everyone who broadcasts the games, everyone whose livelihood depends on people caring about women's basketball. And get this, that's exactly why the March return date is so strategic. March 11th isn't random. It's 2 months before the WNBA season starts. Just enough time to generate massive hype, get people excited again, remind everyone why they fell in love with watching her play, and build anticipation for the actual season. It's marketing genius, honestly. What's even more insane is how this affects the Olympics conversation. He mentions it briefly, but think about the implications. If Caitlyn dominates in March for Team USA, if she looks healthy and explosive and back to her Iowa form, then the pressure to put her on the Olympic team becomes absolutely massive. We're talking about potentially the biggest ratings draw in women's basketball history, playing on the biggest stage in sports. The financial implications alone are staggering.
Porters, well, it looks like we may have a pretty good idea of when Caitlin Clark is next going to play basketball, and it's not during the WNBA season. At least that's not the next thing that she's got her eye on. It's not Unrivaled, and it's not Athletes Unlimited, but it is sooner than the WNBA season. And I got to tell you, this will garner a ton of interest if this happens.
Okay, but here's what that opening setup reveals. Listen to how he frames this, D's. It's not during the NBA season, it's not Unrivaled, it's not Athletes Unlimited, but it is sooner than the WNBA season. He's building anticipation by eliminating all the options people have been speculating about. That's deliberate. That's creating a curiosity gap. And the way he says this will garner a ton of interest if this happens. That if is doing a lot of work there, because even now, even with all these reports and coach comments and timeline discussions, there's still uncertainty. There's still a question mark hanging over whether Caitlin Clark will actually be ready to play in March. See what's happening here? This is the psychology of anticipation. They're not giving us certainty. They're giving us possibility. They're giving us hope. And that hope, that uncertainty, that's what keeps people engaged. That's what keeps people checking for updates, watching videos, following every development, because we don't know for sure what's going to happen. Now here's where this gets really interesting from a business perspective. The Fever organization has been incredibly careful about managing expectation. They haven't promised anything. They haven't guaranteed a return date. Everything has been framed as potential and hopefully. And if she's ready, that's smart, because if something goes wrong, if the recovery takes longer, if there are more setbacks, they've built in plausible deniability. But on the flip side, by floating March as a target date, they've given fans something concrete to look forward to. They've created a deadline, a milestone, a moment to circle on the calendar, and psychologically, that's incredibly powerful, because now, instead of this open-ended she'll be back when she's back situation, people have a specific date to anticipate. March 11th. Mark it down. That's when we might see Caitlin Clark return to basketball.
Athletes Unlimited, okay, so she is not playing in that league. That's confirmation. Another domestic off-season league, nor will she be going overseas, even though offers would surely be lucrative. Instead, she said during her exit interview, her main focus during the winter is, quote, really just getting my body healthy.
This next clip, game changer, because what Stephanie White reveals here is that Caitlin's main focus is really just getting my body healthy, not getting my ankle healthy, not recovering from the injury, getting my body healthy. That's a much broader, much more comprehensive statement. And when you combine that with everything else we've heard, the extended timeline, the careful progression, the focus on building a foundation, it starts to paint a picture of someone who isn't just recovering from a single injury. This sounds like someone who went through a grueling rookie season, dealt with multiple physical issues, and is now taking the time to completely rebuild their body from the ground up. You know what's crazy about that? It's actually the smartest possible approach, because here's what happens to rookie phenoms all the time. They come into professional leagues. They're not physically ready for the grind of an 82-game season or a 40-game WNBA season, and their bodies break down. They get injured, they try to come back too quickly, they get injured again, and it becomes this vicious cycle that derails their entire career. But if Caitlyn and the Fever are actually using this time to properly rebuild her body, to address all the little issues that cropped up during her rookie season, to make sure she's truly 100% healthy before she steps back on the court, that's not a setback. That's an investment in longevity. That's thinking about her career over the next decade, not just the next season. The crazy part is how this connects to the bigger picture of women's basketball. For years, people have criticized the WNBA schedule for not giving players enough recovery time. They play a compressed season, then many players immediately go overseas to make more money, then they come back with barely any off-season, and the cycle repeats. Bodies break down, careers get shortened,